Hello, everyone. This is Brian Riley from Centric Benefits Consulting. I've been working, as you know, on a proposal for the difference card to see if that would be any benefit to Madison Board of Ed. I've spoken a bit to Joe Vespignani about it, and we decided that doing a webinar such as this to at least go through the proposal for you will help you better absorb the material as you look at it at your leisure. So we're just going to do a high-level review of the proposal. This is the first slide that you'll see in the slide deck, the difference card. This next slide has some of their success stories. Now, mind you that the difference card doesn't just operate in the public sector space. They have a lot of private sector clients as well. So this is pretty broad report, but as you'll see, a lot of their savings, most of their clients do see some significant savings. 35.5% save between 15 and 20% on their medical spend. That's why we're exploring this. They are a national company. We've been introduced to them in the public sector largely in reaction to Chapter 78. Prior to Chapter 78, prior to the employees contributing anything to the cost of the insurance, there was no motivation for the employees to embrace an idea such as this. Now that they are contributing to the cost of the insurance, they're much more interested in seeing that cost go down. So the difference card has entered the public sector space. They've been here not right since the beginning of Chapter 78. They were a few years behind. And from what they tell me, they have 5 school district clients in the state of New Jersey right now. We know of one of them in particular, which Joe Vespignani spoke to, Wayne Board of Ed, and I'm sure that he can fill you in on give you the feedback of his conversation with them. Their services. So we're going to talk about the main service that we're interested in here and how they can reduce the cost of the medical program. But they do have a fully integrated wellness program. They're carrier neutral, meaning they can work with any insurance carrier. They also perform flexible spending account, dependent care account, parking and transit services, which I did mention to Joe, if Madison did decide to pursue this, it would make sense to leave Ameriflex and put everything underneath one roof, but that's a conversation for another day. From what I've heard, they have a very good customer service team backing up the employees. They are HIPAA compliant from privacy standpoint, so there is no violation there as far as their reporting, encrypted emails, protecting individuals' data, so on and so forth. Online sales support and wellness seminars. I've heard good things that they really do a good job in getting out in front of the employees. This is a big lift, a plan like this, and we'll talk more about that later. But from what I've heard, and very positive to hear it, they do a good job getting out in front of the employees and answering questions and educating them on how this product works. And they have a dedicated account management team that would be assigned to Madison again if you went through. So in a nutshell, this is how the difference card works. Every single employee gets a card such as this one here on the screen. You start off with what your current plan design is. Now, this is not Madison's current plan design, but this is just for an example to show you. So you start out with what the plan design is. On the far right, you see what the plan design is turned into at the insurance carrier. So instead of a $30 copay that the employee would have today, they would have a $50 copay. Instead of a $100 emergency room copay, they'd have a $300 emergency room copay. Now, the difference card boasts that they can offer Madison and any other school district these plans and satisfy the equal to or better than commitment. The way that they go about that is right here. This difference card, this card that all the employees would be given to all the employees. What the individual should swipe this card for is listed on each card. So right now the employee enjoys a $30 copay. They go to the doctor, they pay their $30 copay, no change, equal to or better. But then they tell the provider to swipe the card for the difference, the $20 to get down here to the $50 copay. So the difference between the $50 copay and the $30 copay is swiped by the card. Who pays for that? That charge, similar to a flexible spending account, that expense for that claim would get billed to the district in this case. And we'll talk more about the employees sharing in that cost, or the district simply absorbs it. But that's what they do. Now, they do it for more than just the copay. They do it for a myriad of benefit items on the list. Let's look at the financial summary that they provided. So for argument's sake, we ran this for an October 1st, 2019 effective date. Current premium, renewal premium, obviously this would be different if we were doing this leading into your July renewal, but we're doing this off anniversary. So those are one and the same. Revised premium here. This represents what the premium would be by making all the different plan changes to your current programs. Raising copays, raising deductibles, raising coinsurance amounts. This is the savings, this is the premium for the new plan design created by making all of those plan changes. The difference card cost. This is what the difference card expects that the district will pay in the form of claim reimbursements to the employees and administrative fees to the difference card, a total of $1,026,000. So you add those two together, the revised premium plus what the difference card expects you to pay in reimbursements, and you have a total revised cost for Madison's program, which is projected to be $7,993,000. So that's where the savings come from. You add the revised premium to the projected cost, you compare that to what you're currently paying for your fully insured Aetna program, and we see a revised 7% decrease in the overall aggregate cost of the plan, and a net savings of $562,000. That is what, right now, the difference card projects you could save by moving to them. Let's talk a little bit more on how they get there. So right here, you have your current plan designs. Now, you actually have more plan designs than this. They streamlined it a bit. As you may or may not know, you have overlapping plans where the only difference between the two plans is your copay. So here on these current plans, what's being called current plans is a 3-tier copay, $5 generic, $10 for formulary, $20 for non-formulary drugs. You also have an option, or the employees, I should say, have an option of choosing a plan that would be a co-insurance, where they would pay a percentage of the cost of the drug. But in any case, for the abstract purposes here, we'll use the copay. So these are the 4 plan designs that they focused on, and your current rates for these plan designs, all right? And you see the total annual cost there, matching up to what was on the previous slide. Revised plan designs. These are all the changes that the difference card would ask me to make with Aetna to generate rates similar to this. These rates are not backed up by Aetna, but these are what, based on the decrements that are available, this is what the anticipated rates would be. So your $10 copay plan, your $15 base plan, your $15.25 plan, all of those would have higher copays behind the scenes at Aetna. $50 copay, $50 copay, and then for your split copay plan, $15.25 would turn into $50, $75. Emergency room, instead of $25, $50, or $75, it would be $100 across the board. In-network deductible, right now there is no in-network deductible for any of your plans except for the health savings account. There would be an in-network deductible on all of these plans. Again, these sound like scary plan changes, but it's all part of the strategy that the difference card offers. So they go through and they change all these benefits, even out of network. If you look down here in out of network, right now the employees have a $100 out of network deductible for a single. That would be changed to $5,000. So big jump. That's what generates these lower premiums here, these plan design changes. But then when you take into consideration the difference card funding vehicle, where the district would be reimbursing the employees the cost, the difference in the cost between their current plan and the new plan, to make them whole, to make this equal to or better, these would be what the employees would be seeing. So they'd be back to their $10 copays, their $15 copay on the base plan, so on and so forth. The only thing that I'm concerned about is this 40%. They didn't change this back to the 20. I pointed that out to the difference card, but it wasn't enough of a discrepancy for me to slow down the process here or keep this presentation from being sent out to you. But the employees would be made whole by the reimbursements through the difference card. Now, once you take the reimbursements into consideration, because that is a benefit, and you add that back into the premiums, what the difference card can deliver here is revised rates based on the insurance premium and the contribution or the reimbursement that the district would be doing. These rates could be used to replace the current rates that you have now for the purposes of Chapter 78 contributions. So, sorry, I went a little bit too far. So you see 19% savings by simply making the plan design changes, which, in some areas are very drastic. And then the difference card's actuarial expectations on how much the district will spend in reimbursements to the employees brings that number back up to the $7,993,000 and change. So that's where they get the 7% discount there. Now, there's different ways to look at this. I pointed out to the difference card, I'm just going to enlarge this a little bit so that you can see it a bit better. I pointed out to the difference card that the family rate here on the, let's look at the 15 plan, $2,766 for the family rate under the difference card. Over here is the family rate for the current plan, $2,961. So we're looking at about $200 worth of savings between these two options here. $200 of aggregate premium savings for this particular family member might not be enough to entice the employee or the union to go for this, because if you think about it, the 80-20 rule, the 80-20 average, the districts tend to pay about 80% of the cost of the insurance. The employee tends to pay about 20% of the cost of the insurance, which means this $200 difference to the employee would be $40 savings per month. That might not be enough of a carrot to put in front of them to have them embrace this new strategy. So the difference card's retort was, some employers choose to roll out to the employees these rates here, the base rates from the insurance carrier with all the plan changes, and the employer decides to take on 100% of the risk of the reimbursement for the claims themselves. Because obviously now we have a wider spread in premium to give the individual employee more of a carrot to embrace this plan. On the onset, I'm not a big fan of this strategy, but it's worth exploring. So doing the math here, I've got two calculators to pull up. Right now, your current medical spend, $8,556,000. If we take this number and we multiply this by 0.8, 80%, this is what Madison School District pays based on these numbers, based on an 80% cost or portion of the cost of the insurance premium. This is what Madison pays for the current plan. If you look at this plan here, the $6,967, let's do the same to this plan here. We're going to start by multiplying it by 80%, $5,574,000. However, when the difference card said that some of their groups base their employee contributions on the actual insurance carrier rates, we can't stop there using this number. We have to add in what the actual reimbursements are projected to be. So the difference card expects that the reimbursements are going to be about $1,025,000. I'm not sure if that's the exact number, but it's close. So if we add that into the number, now we're at $6,599,000. So if we did 80%, if we did Chapter 78 based on these rates, and the district took on the risk that the difference card projects in the form of claim reimbursements, and of course, if we make the assumption that the difference card is spot on accurate in their assumptions, it could be less. You could see less claims than what they anticipate. You could see more claims than what they anticipate. But if they are spot on accurate, right now, the district is spending $6,845,000. Moving forward, it would be $6,599,000 if you based your contributions on this here. I think the more realistic way to look at this is to consider using these rates here with the difference card, having the employees involved in the risk of the claims. I think that would possibly make them better consumers if they, and I'm sure that they'll understand how the difference card works, not the employees themselves, but those on the negotiation committee representing the employees. I'm sure they've probably seen the difference card before, so they would understand it, and they would understand that there is an opportunity there that the savings at the end of the year when the accounting is done, if some of those savings are passed back on to the staff, then maybe they'd embrace this idea that much more readily. Moving on to the next slide. So how did the difference card make their predictions on how much spending you would do? So I gave them a bunch of reports, and we talked about different reports and chiropractic visits and all that other good stuff. And they made these predictions here. Now, this is not what's happening right now, but this is expected utilization, and it's a bit conservative. Your staff is not using the benefits to this degree, but for the purpose of what would be a safe expectation in annual costs, these are what were used for this example. So the difference card, they're anticipating on the different plan designs here. You have 10, 15 for the base 15, 15, 25 for your 1525 plan. So they're expecting that the average employee uses the doctor's office 9 visits a year at these costs. This would be the difference. So they would still pay their $10 or 15 or 25. The difference would be billed to the district, and then they multiply that out by the number of employees to get what the actual spending would be for that category. So 9 visits, $40 reimbursement per visit per 47 employees would be $16,920. They use these thoughts, so on and so forth, going through. I'm not going to belabor this. I just wanted to explain to you how this works. But they do that moving forward through the doctor office visits, through radiology, through out-of-network deductible, through pharmacy copays. So they went through the benefits on a high level to produce this expectation of what the cost would be. All right, $919,345. That number is lower than their total prediction because they do have their administrative fee. So they have administrative fee. It's about $9 per employee per month. And then on top of that, they get a percentage of the savings. So if the expected annual savings here is $624,000 roughly, compared to your current premium, they get 10% of that, so they get $62,000. That's what delivered on the previous slide, the net expected annual savings of $562,000 for this program. I'm speaking fast only because I just wanted to cover this in the abstract for you. Obviously, we can meet and talk about it. The difference card also is willing and excited at the opportunity of sitting down with you and talking about it, but I'll go through this as quickly as I can so that you can go on with your evening. But this here is what they're predicting for future use. So what they're saying here is that if Madison elected to go with the difference card, what they expect is that over a 5-year period, you would see $4,240,000 worth of savings over 5 years. This prediction, I'm not sure if I'm in total agreement with, because what they're doing here is they're including 9% annual increases on your medical, which I think is a bit high. I think this is inflating their projection a bit much. All of you saw that we had a initial renewal increase this year for July 1st, 2019 of 8% and change, and we got it down to 5.4%. So I think the 9% is a little high, but just so that you understand what they're doing here, the 9% annual increase is what they used. They would expect that the difference card costs, the costs that Madison would reimburse to the employees, that would go up each year as well. Staff gets a year older each year. However, it's going up at a smaller rate than the premium. So first year net annual savings, the difference card feels it's at $562. We discussed that already. Next year, they would anticipate that it would be flirting with $700,000. The year after that, they anticipate that the savings would net out to $836,000, so on and so forth. And then, of course, the aggregate of these 5 years is the $4,240,000. Again, I think that number is a bit inflated, but still, if the savings are half of that, then it's great. Detailed financial reporting. This is just a slide that talks about the kind of reporting that Madison will receive on a monthly basis. Different counts on how many doctor offices, how many chiropractor office visits, how many doctor office visits, where the claims are year to date. You'd want this because obviously I look at the claim reports for Madison. Any business administrator is going to look at the claim reports for their district. But for a product like this, like the difference card, you would definitely want to have both the BA and the broker with a finger on the pulse of what's going on and how the claims are looking for forecasting purposes and for immediate cash flow purposes. So you'd want to have access to this information. So they were just sharing what they do. Wellness, I'm not going to go into great detail on this. Long story short, if the individuals participate in wellness programs, with wellness participation, they'll see lower costs out of their pocket. These copays are not particular to Madison. This is a generic slide that they use, but the point remains that if the individual employees participate in the difference cards wellness programs, they'll see less money out of their pocket in the form of copays. This is the wellness plan continued. They have their physicals, they have their on-site health education seminars, different activities earn them points. Those points can be traded in for different rewards. Employee portal, just to give you an idea of what the employees would see. So the employees would want to be able to track their information, and this makes perfect sense because this is a decent amount of work on the employee's part. It's really a decent amount of work on everyone's part. The difference card describes it as an extra step for everyone. I think it's a few more than just one extra step, but not to say no to it, but it is more involvement. The employees would need to, one, understand how to go to the provider and explain swiping the card. I know this sounds mundane, but some employees will push back on this. They'll need to explain to their provider, swipe the card for this amount, and here's my cash for my portion. They'll need to understand it as well, mind you. Now, for claims outside of the normal swipe, they may need to verify that the claim is a legitimate claim. So they'll need to get an explanation of benefits over to the difference card before the difference card will pay them or reimburse them for their expense. So they'll be asked to provide that EOB, that explanation of benefits themselves. There is a tool here that they can use to make their life a little easier with that process, but there are certainly additional steps. and they'll want to have access to their own portal so that they can see what their utilization is and what's expected or needed of them. There's a mobile app to help make that easier, of course. 2019, I think everyone's got an app for that. Easy claims. So I mentioned that the employees would need to supply EOBs in some situations to prove that their expense is a legitimate one. Easy claims is a process. A lot of the third-party administrators have things like this. I have a lot of other schools. Many of the schools that have embraced these kind of programs are charter schools, in my experience. But I have other schools that have HRAs, health reimbursement arrangements, high deductibles, and then the school reimburses them. Getting those EOBs can be a challenge sometimes on the employee's part. What this program is, or would allow them to do, is the employee signs up and registers for Aetna's website so that they can have access to all of their claims on Aetna. But then they give that username and password to the difference card so that the difference card can then log into Aetna and pull whatever claims they need. It sounds like it might be an invasion of privacy, but it's really not if you consider that to get some of these claims paid, the individual is going to need to supply the record, the EOB, to the difference card to pay them. What this service would do is allow the difference card, instead of sending John Smith employee an email, instead of bothering them on the phone, difference card would simply log directly into Aetna using John Smith's username and password, and would pull those EOBs. There's an additional service here where they can pull the EOBs more electronically, but that's behind the scenes. That's not forward facing for the employees. But long story short, the difference card would be able to go and access these EOBs directly, so they wouldn't need to trouble the employee to get this paperwork over to them. If Madison was to pursue this, I would really push this in an employee enrollment meeting, because in my experience, this makes life a lot easier. It makes these plans a lot easier. Providing exceptional customer service. This is a plug for the difference card themselves and what they do. Direct deposit line here. Like I said, sometimes it's not the swipe of a card. Sometimes the employee needs to get the difference card in EOB to support a claim, in which case the difference card reimbursing that employee the difference in the cost is going to send the employee the money so that they can in turn pay the provider. You know, again, there's some extra steps here for the employees. That's one of the extra steps. So the employee has the ability to sign up for direct deposit. I would recommend that they do this as well. Or they can simply manually submit the claims themselves, and the check can be mailed to them in conventional U.S. Post Office mail. So that concludes all the different pieces to the difference card in their proposal. Again, I just wanted to go through the proposal to show it to you, to explain it slide by slide so that you know what it's all about. Joe Vespignani asked me to provide my opinion on it. If you go back, well, long story short, like I said, I've seen employers embrace these plans before, all right? And there's certainly a lift. There's certainly an education curve which the employees need to participate on to make this work. To get them to embrace it, they need to have some skin in the game. They need to have some of the possible reward to make it worth their while, so to speak. These are also kind of the arguments that I think you're going to get back from the union. I think the forecasted savings, we're kind of close on what the forecasts are, as far as, you know, and it depends on how you roll this out to the employees, how we all roll this out to the employees. But I think it definitely warrants more conversation. I think we could, I think it'd be time well spent if we gave the difference card a shot to introduce the product themselves. Beyond that, like Matt Jacoby said, with the difference card's commitment that once they make these reimbursements, the employee is made whole, thus this is equal to or better, I think that this gets shown to the union either way. And then we show this to them and we say, look, guys, this is equal to or better. Putting in a program like this is equal to or better. It rings all the bells. It satisfies all the requirements. So we're going to do this. We're going to take a shot at this, and we're going to see how this works out for the district to save money on the medical spend for the plan. Worst case scenario, I think that they'll do their due diligence. They'll reach out to schools that they might know that have the difference card. They'll get feedback on the user experience from those individuals. And knowing that Madison could do this, we could simply put this plan in because it is equal to or better. We could pursue this. I think it would make them a lot more agreeable the next time Matt goes in and talks to them about possibly changing from the 15 to the 1525 or the 15 to the 20. If they see that that there's an opportunity that Madison's going to go to this plan and Madison can go to this plan, if they get feedback from other districts and those districts tell them that they don't like it, don't do it, stay away from it, I think it just gives us a great bargaining chip here to get some other concessions on the plan. I do not have any clients with the difference card per se. One of those 5 clients that they have, school district clients, mind you. One of those 5 clients that they have are not any of mine. But again, I do have HRA clients, health reimbursement arrangement clients. And like I said, it's a big lift in the learning curve. The difference card and I had a great conversation about it, largely because I had so much experience with it through those other HRAs. So looking at this, I've seen it work. I think it could work. I think it is a bit messy. I think education is going to be key. And for that purpose, I do have a great vibe about the difference card in their commitment to service, because what we talked about was not only just rolling this out to the employees, but also once it has been rolled out, having additional meetings with the employees 3 weeks after the start date so that the employees can all get together and we can say, all right, everyone, you've had this now for 3 weeks. It's no longer a concept. You've actually lived this product for 3 weeks. Where are we going? How's it working for you? Do you have questions? For the ship, but Madison's experience to where it would bode well for exploring something like this. However, since your experience is going well, I'm also exploring other options. So I've got Madison right now being looked at by the School Health Insurance Fund, group self-funded product. So there are other options. So you don't need to necessarily look at this as the only option, but I think it's definitely worth exploring further. And I absolutely think that we should go to the union and tell them, I'll do that, by the way, if you like. I'd love to sit down with them and tell them that we're planning on doing this and it meets equal to or better, and seeing what their opinion is of it. So I think I talked longer than Joe wanted me to, but give me a call if you have any questions. I would love to meet up about it, and good luck with everything. I will talk to you soon. Take care.